Good to go? Good, Henry?
Got it, Coach.
You're good. I'm good, man.
I'm great, man.
Good.
I'd be worried about that.
Hey, you do got me a little nervous now. A few things. One, Connor McDougal will practice today for the first time fully since the BYU game. Still taking a little bit of a wait-and-see approach. Don't want anything to kind of turn into something long-term with him. Also on his situation, I know there's been some confusion about what year he's in. I think he's listed as a redshirt junior on the website. We filed an appeal through the Pac-12 office, which is where Connor's redshirt year into question came up. That appeal was denied. There's a Mountain West policy that states those such appeals can only be done in the conference that they're in. So at this point, Connor's senior year is upon us, and there's really not much more that I think we can do internally. There might be some things we're going to still look into, but at this point, I think he's aware it's very likely going to be his senior year, and so are we. We've gone through I don't know whether it was NCAA mandated or not, but we have gone through a recertification process of all our players that was done through the UNM legal office as well as the compliance office, and all our players have been cleared to play Saturday night. Obviously looking really forward to this weekend. Really thankful to the coaches and the programs that have decided to kind of give this opening weekend a chance. Hopeful that in the future it's going to grow into something a little bit bigger, involve more schools, but we needed a starting point, and I'm really glad we've done it. I hope it can be a really fun weekend to kind of kick off basketball and bring a lot of people together. I think everyone's aware that whether it's Lobo Athletics or the state, there's been a lot of just maybe it's been a rough go, for however many months, and I'm hopeful that the kickoff of basketball season can be a fun time to help, bring people together. It's unfortunately become, I think, okay to be polarizing, whether you like something or hate something or support something or don't support something. And I'm hopeful that maybe Lobo basketball can be welcoming to a lot of different people and kick off what I hope with a new athletic director and some changes will be a really fun time for Lobo sports. So that's a little bit about where things are at, and I'll take any questions.
To clarify on Connor, the Mountain West policy, does that not allow you guys as a member of the Mountain West to appeal to the NCAA?
Exactly.
You guys normally, the Mountain West not have that policy. There is an appeal to the NCAA you could do, but by the conference rules, you guys aren't being allowed to.
My understanding of the rule is the initial appeal has to go through the conference within which it happened, and the Mountain West has their own rule that states the exact same thing. So the Mountain West, exactly right, yeah.
Which then prohibits you guys from any further appeals at all. Is your understanding for now?
Yes, exactly right. That's my understanding for now.
So that had to go through the Pac-12.
What was that?
That had to go through the Pac-12.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
And the reason for the appeal is the date in which he last participated in a game, or that he returned to practice?
That's probably a question that the Pac-12 could answer better than me.
Coach, what do you want to see out of you guys? You can kick it off the season. What do you want to see to make you feel like, hey, they're getting it. We're getting what we need?
Yeah, I think as much as we ever get into some of the detail stuff as far as what we want to do offensively and defensively, and I really, as a basketball coach, want to get there, I never want to get there and overlook what I really want our team to be about, which is going to be a team that competes really hard and plays with a lot of effort and intensity and energy and enthusiasm and compassion for each other, and just a very united, hard-working team. So that's always going to be a staple, hopefully, of our basketball teams, and I'm hopeful we'll see that Saturday night. And in addition to that, we do want to start moving the needle as far as executing on offense and executing on defense, and some of the things that we practice every day that we're still not maybe doing at the level I'd like. But like I said, I don't want to ever lose what I want to be about. and focus on those things too much. So ideally a good blend of both. We play really hard and you're like, wow, that team executed really well offensively and defensively. But I'm also aware that we've spent so much time on our culture and these guys buying into me and me buying into them and them buying into each other that we've probably, we're a little bit behind maybe on some of those other things.
Coach, how does that change your recruiting focus? The fact that now you have two bigs that are both seniors.
Yeah, we knew that was a possibility anyways, so I don't think it changed it significantly. We've been trying to recruit size, and all we've really been trying to do right now is recruit toughness. We want kids that play really hard and are going to be committed to our style and thrive in our style. And I think it's hard to teach that. To teach a motor, to teach toughness is difficult, and that's probably the number one thing that we're looking for in recruiting. And we've been looking for bigs anyway. So we knew that, Connor, I think when I first got here was maybe under the impression that getting his last year was like this automatic. But my initial conversations with compliance were drastically different. And unfortunately, over the last 6 months or so, communicating with Connor and his family about the likelihood of how these waivers and appeals were going to play out he was probably going to be a senior. So I was maybe a lot more inclined to it than Connor was, unfortunately.
Coach, do you really want to press and run for 40 minutes? And with that, did you run out of legs a little bit because of this new philosophy against BYU the other night?
That's a good question. I think the BYU game, when you shoot 5 for 31 from 3, I think it's going to be hard to win a basketball game. So when I look back on that game, we asked ourselves, are we doing everything we can to make sure that we're going to be able to make shots? And our last game out, we shot the ball tremendously well, which was very encouraging to me. And I think our defense was good. I think when you look back at the BYU game, you think, man, like we should have put more points up to win that game. I think our defense has a lot of room for improvement, but I don't look back on that game and say, our defense really let us down. We have to find a way to make more shots. So, that pace of play doesn't always affect your defense. Sometimes it affects your offense. And that's really what we're spending more time on now, is trying to find the right sweet spot offensively.
Coach, have you settled on the starting 5 for this game, or is it still going to be the same thing like every?
Yeah, my hope is it stays in flux throughout the entire season. If for whatever reason we get 5 guys that completely cement themselves and really differentiate themselves from 6 through 10 or 6 through 11 or 6 through 12, then so be it. But for now, to me, it's open competition. And whoever are going to be the best 5 on Saturday will be earned from now or till now and then through Saturday, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Is that the versatility that you would hope for, that, if I take one guy out, I can plug one guy in?
I don't think we have much of a choice but to be that way. I don't think any of us in that locker room or on our team are going to pretend we're going to have 2 or 3 first-team all-Mountain West players, but we got to hope that 6 through 11, we're going to be just as good as anybody in this league, and we have to bring those guys. We have to bring 6 through 11 into a game for us to be successful.
You're starting non-conference play, obviously, everyone is. You didn't build this entire schedule yourself, some of it was already in place. From a non-conference standpoint, do you have a schedule that you like? Is this what you're going to do year in and year out, what you guys did put together this year? And is this good enough in most years to maybe get in that large bid if it comes down to that?
The scheduling part of it, I think we were the number 1 school that in non-conference RPI in the Mountain West. Going into this year, and last year I think we were 2nd. So Coach Neal and the staff that came before me obviously did a really good job. Even I think the previous athletic director was involved just because he was on the committee. So I think from a at-large scheduling standpoint, we've done a really good job as far as setting up this team. Now it's our job to go out and execute. My only difference will be trying to maybe bring in more regional rivalries just from an attendance standpoint and an excitement standpoint. So hopefully BYU might be the start of something. Maybe Texas Tech will be the starting something, trying to find regional opponents and reaching out to them and say, like, let's do this. Now, does that mean that's always going to line up perfect for an at-large bid? I don't know. But I think as a program, we need to be willing to toe that line a little bit and say, you know what, is it better to have a program like this come in and start a series as opposed to worrying exactly about where our RPI is going to end up?
Coach, could you clarify how you feel about concussion protocols right now? Do you feel like they're what we need, or do we need to modify them? Should we be
Yeah,
something?
no, that's a great question, and I know there was an article written about it. Our practices are open to the public. You guys are all welcome to come to this practice at the end of today. And the last time I had an open practice after a press conference was, I guess when this discussion that was quoted kind of came out, and I think anyone that was there. And I've talked to people there, and members of you in here were actually there. Came to a bit of a different conclusion. I think anyone that knows me or vetted me in that area would also feel the same way. Our student athletes' well-being is my utmost priority. I mean, Connor McDougal hasn't stepped foot on the floor since BYU, and that's over an ankle sprain. So I would never intentionally or willingly put any of our student athletes in harm's way. And the inference otherwise, I would object to.
Can you talk about one or two things maybe you're anxious about that you saw in the closed practices or the scrimmages in the BYU game that you're looking to see how that plays out on Saturday?
Offensively, like Henry said, I think the concern when we play the pace we do is that there's going to be a defensive impact. But so far, our pace of play, there's been an offensive impact, and we have to make sure that we're doing what we can do at the offensive end of the floor. We have good shooters. We're obviously a little bit undersized. That's not a secret. So we need to be able to spread the floor and make shots in order to be a good offensive team. And we have to make sure that what we're doing defensively is not going to harm us offensively greater than whatever we might be gaining defensively.
So you're saying you're working hard on defense and it's just causing issues maybe with stamina? Or
It did against BYU. It did against BYU when we look back on it, when you shoot that way. Now, again, that I don't want to necessarily chalk that up just to our style of play. That could have been nerves. That could have been first time out. That could have been respect to the BYU defense. I don't want to say that, but that's the initial thought. I don't think any of us as a staff have looked back on our first 3 games, our 2 scrimmages and our exhibition and said, wow, our style of play has hurt us defensively. We've looked back maybe our shooting numbers and going, hey, what can we do to get these shooting numbers up?
How about just the feel the players get of playing that style?
Exactly right. And it could be just as much that, their minutes aren't going to be the same. Someone who's used to playing 35 minutes is now playing 22 minutes. And how does that affect their shooting flow? And those are things we're examining every single day as far as trying to be the best we can be. And right now, that's offensively probably more than defensively.
And the plan is still to play 10 or 11 guys? That's what you want to do?
Exactly right.
Who's got a green light on this team to shoot the basketball?
I don't know if anybody doesn't have a green light on this team.
The threes too?
Yes.
You had made the comment that going into BYU, you didn't have everything in place, so you kind of had to be close to the best. Now do you have everything in place, and will we see kind of full bore on Saturday night?
That's a great question, and that's something we're still kind of discussing a little bit. That's as best I could say that.
How much did that game help to have it that early? And now that you've gotten a chance to see your guys after for a couple of days, and
Sure.
stuff like that before leading going into the regular season, how much did that really help?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, and I said it before the BYU game, in my own mind, I had kind of mapped out our preseason, and we weren't going to play anyone in the public until Saturday, and we were going to go along a very kind of organized, structured pace. And when the BYU game came along, it obviously threw a big wrench into that, and we just kind of threw a game in the middle there that we weren't initially preparing for. But as I've reflected on it afterwards, it was an amazing experience, and I think really pushed us along. BYU might be one of the top 10 teams we play all year. So to get that and have that kind of experience here on our home court, I think really helped propel us. It might not have been ideal that day to play that game as far as a reflection of who we are, but I think it really helped our path and allowed our ability to grow as a basketball team. So I think we're further along today now because of it, which is good.
Coach, you played a big part in the community kind of thing, but the best reaction I got sitting on the baseline was people seeing your style for the first time against BYU going, this is a blast.
Sure.
Is that kind of what you were hoping for, the kind of reaction that said, we didn't win, but we love this style?
I would hope so, because it's not, to be honest with you, it's not just about them. It's about the 13 guys I have too, and I want them to have fun playing basketball, because I think when you're having fun, you're going to play harder, you're going to dive on the floor more, you're going to give it everything you got. And that's part of what we're trying to build here, is just a team that plays with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of passion, and I'm hopeful that that style of play will induce more of that as well. So the fans, obviously, we need them. They are Lobo basketball at the end of the day, so hopefully it's something that they enjoy too.
How excited are you about this? How that you're doing, you know, the student section and all that stuff that's going on?
Really cool. You know, I haven't had a ton of time to interact with students as much as I really would have liked or initially intended to, and I probably need to do more of that going forward. But the groups that we've met with, and we've had them up in the offices and hung out and talked and interacted about ideas and fatheads and pregame intros and everything, it's been great, and I'm really excited that they're supporting us, and I'm hopeful they can become a very vibrant part of our home game atmosphere.
Could you have Ryan Cordova and Craig Snow, guys who are familiar with this place, come in?
Yeah.
What's your relationship with them, and is this something that maybe continues in the future?
Yeah, I said at the outset, I really hope nothing's ever perfect, and you know, I realize there might be some skepticism about what we're trying to do, but you need an entry point, you need a starting point, and I'm hopeful that this is the starting point of maybe something we can grow into the future. And because of people like Craig and Ryan, I mean, they've allowed this thing to happen. They've bought into saying, hey, let's go try this out. Let's be a part of something. In the future, if we can incorporate more teams, that would be even better. And maybe just kick off the season, not just for the Lobos, but for everybody in this state, and just kind of rally people around it. So Ryan and Craig are both close friends of mine, and I'm really glad that they're coming. They both do tremendous jobs with their programs, and I wish them both all the best. And hopefully part of this experience is going to benefit them just as much as it would benefit, you know, Albuquerque or just basketball here in the program.
And last year, it was a close game up until halftime at the Star Center. So is that just a concern that just Ryan's teams come in knowing that this is like a Super Bowl?
It's always a concern. Well, we just whipped off all the scores to tell our team about, you know, Auburn lost, Toledo lost, Eastern Illinois beat Illinois. I mean, you can go down the line of this time of year. You have to be sharp. You have to be ready to go because these teams are coming in and they're trying to win. I mean, they're not coming in here for a parade. So we're taking this game very seriously, just as seriously as we did the BYU game.
Coach, did you scout northern New Mexico against Fort Lewis? And if yes, what did you see that you?
Northern New Mexico's played a lot of games. They even played a game last night. I think they're playing another game tonight. So we're monitoring Northern New Mexico quite frequently, their lineups, how they're playing, the things they're doing offensively and defensively. Like I said, they played last night. They'll play again tonight. We'll just go all the way up to game time as far as trying to figure out the latest about them so we can give ourselves the best chance to win.
What do they do?
A little bit of everything. I mean, they obviously will have some shooters in that game that he referenced last year. They made some shots, and a lot of those players are back. They have some New Mexico kids, which is obviously very powerful as well. And we're preparing both ways, offensively and defensively, for the things that they've been doing.
Coach, put your finger on one thing. We have to do this. What would that be?
Play hard.
Coach, what about Simons and Logwood? They shot like twice as much as everybody else. Is this something that might be? These are two guys that are going to do this from the rest of the time, or is this just a one-game thing?
I think that was a one-game thing. We talk a lot about we're all still trying to find ourselves a little offensively within the system. It's a very team-oriented system where really on every possession, every single player should touch the ball. And within that, that's unusual for some of them, and they're all trying to figure out how we're going to fit into that puzzle offensively. And I don't think that's necessarily going to be a trend. Every game really should be different than the next depending on how the teams are guarding us. And tonight that might mean so-and-so gets a lot of shots, and another night it might mean so-and-so, and that can even vary over the course of the game. It's a very team-oriented offense that should be built around what the defense gives us as opposed to us offensively saying we're going to go do this.
How's your staff come together? A lot of different parts come, you know, some you retained that were here, some you brought in. How's it meshing? Is everybody sort of finding their voice?
Yeah, I was talking to another coach this morning, and he asked me the same question, and I said, you know, we've spent so much time with so many new faces, players, so many new faces, staff, me, everything kind of coming together. It's been a big challenge, and we've spent so much time on that like I've said earlier, basketball-wise, we might not be where I want, but I felt like we had to get that in order before we could really get to basketball stuff. I didn't want to skip us connecting, us getting to know each other, us learning everyone's strengths and weaknesses. I think that was really our our foundation to where now the basketball stuff we can start to build and grow as a team. But I wanted to make sure we were going to be connected. I want to make sure there wasn't going to be any fractures, any issues. And the staff's been amazing, and just as much as the players have. And I have to give them just as much credit as I have the players of just their willingness to buy into me. And they didn't have to, and they have, and I'm thankful. And I think where we're at as a program is a very powerful place. Now we just have to find a way to build on that basketball-wise to where we can be an effective basketball team.
What do you know about this team now that you didn't when you first landed your last recruit?
This team's willingness to commit to what we do conditioning-wise has shown me a lot. I've asked them to do a lot, and it's one thing to do that in August and September with the videos and all those kinds of things, and you're only going 8 hours a week. But when you really get into the heart of it, and you're going every single day or however many days we happen to go, and you're doing workouts, and you're doing strength and conditioning, and you're doing practices, and you're doing shooting sessions, and you're eating breakfast, you're doing all the things we asked them to do, it's not that easy to then go run the pit or then go run the ramps or do the sprints we asked them to do. And they've done it, and I think it's a testament to them, and I really, really want them to feel the success of that. I really want them to understand that there's some benefit of that, and they've shown me a lot. I think they've shown themselves a lot. I think even some of them are surprised, like, wow, like I can run this much and I can do this much, and I'm proud of them for that.
Well, it seemed like the other day, which was several months ago, you were hired as the new head coach. Now, man, the beginning is here. How do you feel about that individually, personally?
Like I've said before, I'm not a really reflective person. I've really just wake up every day trying to do the best job I can for Lobo basketball, and right now my sole concern is to have a really good practice today and a good film session and grow and develop as a group. It's humbling to walk into the pit every day and realize that I work here. It's humbling to walk, to meet with student sections and fans of the program and realize, like, wow, like I'm responsible for this thing, and it puts you in a place of like I got to work even harder. And that's really all I can control. I don't know how great of a basketball coach I am or not, Henry. I just know that we're going to try and work really hard to be the best we can be, and wherever that leaves us, as it leaves us.
Anything else?
Thank you.